here in all of our ministries at Trinity, that we truly believe that we are readying you, that we are setting you, preparing, equipping you to go into the darkness, to be a light into the world, and to preach the good news like Jesus told us to do. Not just me or Pastor Chris or Pastor Drew, but all of us are called to go preach the good news, because we do believe, like we just sang, right? Great is the Lord, great are you, Lord. And so we want the whole world to know that, to be set free in the truths that you and I know. And today I want to remind you that we are called to go. And more than that, as we heard the gospel read from the book of Luke, as Rachel Game read that, we heard Jesus allude and speak to the truth of that we will be persecuted. As we go, we will be persecuted. We will go into the darkness, and it's not going to be easy. Right? There's going to be trials because we are Christians. Right? And there's an enemy out there that doesn't want us to set those free that he holds captive. And so as we begin the sermon today, the last 2 weeks in this sermon series, we asked 3 questions, so I figure we'll just stick with this. Next week we'll ask another 3 questions and answer those questions. But the first question is this: as we are called to go, and we are called to go into the darkness, is where are we being persecuted? Right? Where is it hard for us as Christians to live out our faith? And certainly there could be debate about this, right? Is it the politics? Is it government? Right? In my world, where I've been persecuted the most is in the areas of intelligence, in the mind, in thinking, in reason, in logic. Right? There's an intellectual persecution that takes place, and it's been taking place, not just in our context, in our culture, in our world, right? But for hundreds of years, thousands of years. Right? People have been attacking the reason of Christians, the logic of Christians, the minds of Christians. Right? And certainly for those of you who get to go to college, who have been to college, right? Majority of college campuses, we see the front line of where this attack is on Christians. Right? But over and over again, I've been treated as if I don't have any reason, I don't have any logic, I don't have any intellect, I don't have any grounds to stand on. My faith, according to many people, right, is just wishful thinking. It's a myth. Right? There's no truth to back up any of the claims that I actually believe. Right? So we're being persecuted. Right? I don't know if you've experienced that. I experienced that several times in any given year, and the opportunities that God gives to me to go share his news when people realize I am a Christian and I believe what I believe. The second question is this: if that's where we're being persecuted, well, what is our response? What is our response to that? And I love what Jesus said, and it's recorded for us in the Gospel of Matthew, and actually in all of the Gospels that this is recorded, because Jesus asked this question, right? What's the greatest commandment? What's the greatest word that you can give to us? And he answers, you shall love. You shall love the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all of your mind. And with all of your mind, and your neighbor as yourself, because to the degree upon which you love God will be the degree upon which you love your neighbor. If you think you love God, how are you loving your neighbor? And your neighbor includes your family, right? So Jesus says that right there. But in the middle of that, as we talk about where we're being persecuted as we go, Jesus says, love me with your mind. Love me with your mind. Engage your intellect. Engage your logic. Engage your sense of reason. Engage history. Engage facts. And what I want to do right now, and I need to do this for myself, I think we all need to engage our mind, and maybe we're not ready to engage our mind. This sermon is going to be a little bit different than a typical sermon perhaps here at Trinity, and so I think we need some fresh oxygen into our mind so we can actually think. And so how about we all take a deep breath on the count of 3 to get a little oxygen so we can think for a moment. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, I want to encourage you to keep breathing as we go through this. But when it comes to loving God with our mind, right, there's a word that's been taught that many of us have heard of. It's called apologetics. Right? It's not an apology for our faith. It's an intellectual defense, an intellectual engagement into this conversation, into this persecution. That's what apologetic means. Right? And so certainly there are a lot of apologetics, a lot of defenses for our faith because we're attacked on several different levels with areas of our claims. Right? And I'll say this as we get into this message. Right? Apologetics are not the gospel. Certainly they speak of the gospel, but what apologetics do is they water the seed of the gospel. They give us soil, fertile soil to put around that seed so that seed can grow, and so apologetics are extremely important. They're important for us. And so the question that I want to ask you, this third question as we consider apologetics, defending our faith intellectually, is this might not be a deep enough question for you, but this is a deep question. Who is Jesus? Who is Jesus? Right, there are several areas, again, where we defend our faith. We can talk about creation, evolution. We can talk about the historical reliability of the Scriptures. We can talk about the problem of evil, if God is so good. We can talk about 7-day creation, 6-day creation, with the 7th day God resting. We can talk about Noah's flood. We can talk about Jonah. We can talk about all these different historical claims that we have, or faith claims that we have. But this is the central claim that we have. This is the foundational claim that we have, and we need to learn to stick simple and to stay simple and to stay right here whenever we have an opportunity to start engaging our intellect with others and engaging other people's intellect in their mind. And so the simple yet profound yet deep question is this, is who is Jesus? Who is Jesus? And it's so easy to get sidetracked, but yet we need to stay focused. Because this is the question Jesus was asking. This is the question that those who have gone before us continue to ask, and we need to continue to ask. This is what's at stake. How we answer this question, right, determines eternity. How others answer this question determines eternity. And everyone has an opinion on this. And I don't know if you've lived a life where you're living out your faith, if people know that you're a Christian, where you're at in your faith. Right? But if you ask somebody who is Jesus, everyone has an opinion, right? You can go on YouTube and you can see all these people who have done these street interviews, right? Who's Jesus? Everyone responds, right? Everyone has an opinion. And what's fascinating to me, right, is that the predominant opinion about Jesus outside of those who are Christians, who say that Jesus is in fact who he said that he was, that he is Lord. And if you're wondering, that's what we believe here at Trinity. Jesus is Lord. Right? But what a vast of majority of people who do not believe that what they say, and other religions that aren't Christian religions, say Jesus was a great teacher. That's what history tells us. Jesus was amazing. Right? He was such a great guy, this loving guy, an amazing teacher, probably the best teacher that's ever lived. And what I want to give you is some logic around that answer. That most likely you and I, if we engage others with the gospel, that we are going to hear if they do not believe Jesus. There's been some great thinkers that have gone before us. One man, his name is C.S. Lewis, and he picked up on greater thinkers that even went before him, and others have picked up what he said and refined it. And C.S. Lewis said this because this is what was being said in his day almost 100 years ago. He says, a man who is merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. Okay, let's stop and think. Again, we're using our intellect. A man who is merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He'd either be a lunatic on a level with the man who says he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can shut him up, he says, for a fool. You can spit at him and kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend to do so. And so C.S. Lewis, engaging his intellect, engaging his logic, engaging the historical reliable documents about Jesus, right, understood that the only three possible answers to this question are that he was Lord, or he was a liar, or he was a lunatic. And so my hope, again, as it's been the last couple weeks, is to equip you. By you, I mean those of you who are confident, secure in your faith, and you know that Jesus is calling you to set the captives free, to go preach his word, not just with your actions, right, but with your words, to equip you and to strengthen you, to give you more confidence in what you believe to be true about Jesus. And also for those of you who are wrestling about faith and Christianity and our claim here at Trinity, that you will stop and think about what you believe to be true about Jesus, that we can engage your logic and your intellect. And so Jesus said that he was God, that he was Lord. And so if he was not, in fact, Lord, then he was lying. And if he didn't realize that he was lying, going around saying he was Lord, then that would make him a lunatic. Right? And so, was Jesus a liar? Was he a liar? Right? Let's play this out. Right? Jesus went around saying, right, I have the authority to forgive sins. Not just when James or other brothers that he had, Judas or any of these other guys that he grew up with, or these disciples, right, when they sinned against him, he wasn't just saying, hey guys, I forgive you, I'm not going to hold that against you. No, he was going around and people understood this. He was saying, I have the authority on earth to forgive sins. And when people heard that, they said, this man is claiming to be on the same level of God. They knew what he was saying when he said that, and Jesus knew what he was saying when he said it. So was he lying when he said that? When Jesus talked about how he's always been there from the beginning, right? They knew what he was saying. Jesus knew what he was saying. Was he lying by saying that? When Jesus said, I'm going to be the one to come back and judge the living and the dead. When you take your last breath, you're going to meet me. Was he knowingly lying about that? And history tells us that the crime that he was crucified for was blasphemy, because those around him who tried him understood what he was doing. And so wouldn't you think if Jesus was lying about being God, that he would have raised his hand and said, I am so sorry for lying. Please don't kill me. If Jesus was a liar about this, right, how could he tell others over and over again, right, to live up to this moral code, to love your neighbor and to speak truth to your neighbor? Right? Yet he was lying about his identity and who he was. Right? And in his life that he lived. Right? When we read these 4 historical reliable biographies, these 4 gospels, what we call them, right, the character doesn't add up. Right? A liar doesn't live like that if he's lying on this great teaching that he is teaching. Right? And certainly, how can we say that he was a great teacher, a good guy, if his biggest teaching was a lie? Right? Logically speaking, we wouldn't say that. I'm going to go ahead and look at this microphone right here like he's my friend that I'm talking to about this, so I don't start debating with you and seem angry with you. Not that we want to seem angry when we start defending our faith. Right? But if he didn't know he was lying, right? If he's not actually Lord and he wasn't actually lying, if he didn't know he was lying about his truth statement of being God, what does that make him? Right? We would say he's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. Right? And so Jesus defends himself in the Gospel of John against those who would call him a liar, and he also defends himself about those that were saying he was out of his mind. And so we're going to go into John chapter 8, verse 49, where Jesus, in discussion about him being a liar, right, or him being out of his mind, it finally comes to him being out of his mind. He says, I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. The Jews said to him, now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died, and the prophets also, and you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste of death. Surely you are not greater than our father Abraham, who died. The prophets died too. Who do you make yourself out to be? And Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. I've always been. I'm eternal. When they heard this, they understood what he was saying, and so they tore their clothes because they could not believe that this man, Jesus, was actually claiming to be God and telling them that he wasn't lying, that he was full of truth, and telling them, right, that he's not out of his mind. Right? They believed he was out of his mind. They believed that he was possessed. So was Jesus out of his mind? Right? Was he a lunatic if in fact he actually wasn't Lord or lying? Right? Insanity, right? To be a lunatic. Right? The measure of insanity is the size of the gap between what you think you are and what actually is. And so if I stood up here and said, I am the greatest baseball player that's ever lived, right, you would say, you're an arrogant fool, Justin. Right? If I said, I'm Napoleon, right, you would say, right, I'm going over the edge. If I would say, I'm a beautiful butterfly, right, what would you say? Right, yes, I am, thank you. Right, you would say, right, I'm insane. Right, I'm out of my mind. But if I or someone else starts saying, hey, I'm God, right, and the level of insanity is the gap between what you think you are and what you really are, right? If I say I'm God or someone says they're God, right, we're even more insane because the gap between anything finite and infinite, right, is even greater, right? And no one who has read the 4 biographies, the Gospels of Jesus, these historical, reliable documents that have been passed down to us about the person of Jesus, this man that lived, can honestly and seriously consider this option. It does not add up that Jesus was out of his mind. Right? And this idea that Jesus was self-deceived or delusional is just not compatible. It's not compatible with the impression that he has left behind. It doesn't add up over 2,000 years of history. Right? So Jesus claimed to be Lord. Right? Was he Lord? Or was he lying? Or did he not know that he was lying? Was he a lunatic? Right? This is the logic that we are left with the person of Jesus. Right? And so who is Jesus? Right? Matthew chapter 15, Jesus asked this question. Right? Who do you say that I am? Peter, the disciple, said, you are the Christ. You're the Messiah. You're the anointed one. You're the one who's always been, who always will be. Right? You are the Son of the living God. And what did Jesus say to him? No, I'm not. Don't believe the lie. I'm sorry I misled you. No. He said, blessed are you, Simon. Blessed are you, Peter, because you believe this. Right? This has been revealed to you. This is the truth. Right? And so those that have gone before us, right, those first disciples believing that Jesus was Lord, they said this about him. It's actually recorded in Paul's letter to the church in Philippi. Right? Though he was in fact God, though Jesus was in fact God, he emptied himself and took on the form of a servant. He was born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself, became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. And then they would say this, therefore, right, his name is above every name. His name is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus is in fact Lord. And I don't know where you are in your faith, but if you're seeking truth out right now in this moment, and you're saying, I still don't know, right, but I'm thinking about it, I pray that you continue to think about it. Right? I pray that you engage us individuals who say, yeah, Jesus is Lord. I pray that you stick around Trinity because this is who we are about. This is what we do here. We follow Jesus. We believe that he is Lord of life, that in him there is meaning, there is purpose, there is truth. Right? There is love. And again, for those of us who believe this, right, may God continue to give us opportunities. Right? May God our Father give us opportunities to share this news, to ask this question, and to answer this question, and to get individuals to think about this question. Right? May Jesus always be on our lips, his name. May the Holy Spirit of God give us the words, those words of life, when these opportunities present themselves to us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen? Everyone take a deep breath for me once again on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, you can relax your mind now. Everyone chill. At this time, we had a great opportunity, a great blessing. We have a family that believes Jesus